This is the Hello World podcast, where we talk about habits of success, habits of excellence, entrepreneurship, leadership, learning and development, and outlook that will help us succeed through life. This is Louie Banta, CEO and Chief Trainer of Learning Just Made Better, or LJMB. Welcome to episode 22 of the Hello World podcast. Our focus in this episode is on the first letter of hello, hustle and habits of success. Our guest in this episode will talk about managing career transitions, reinventing your career in uncertain times. A very relevant topic. Our guest is the founder and one of the managing partners of Haraya Coaching. She's a seasoned leadership and life coach with an impressive set of credentials and numerous global certifications, the highlights of which are Professional Certified Coach or PCC by the International Coaching Federation or ICF, and Certified Coach by Coach U, a global pioneer in the coaching industry. She spent over 16 years in the corporate world, in the retail, consumer, and direct sales industries, working for top companies such as Bench and Avon, holding leadership roles in HR, talent and leadership development, business development, organizational development, and change management, including regional and global assignments. As a certified coach, she works with individuals and teams in setting and achieving their transformation goals through coaching and learning. For Haraya Coaching, she has partnered with key clients such as Google, Zalora, Ford Academy, Sun Life Financial, Globe Telecom, Zwillig Pharma, and many, many others. Apart from managing Haraya, she manages family businesses in real estate, property development, and trading. She is a board member of the Philippines chapter of ICF, where she currently serves as secretary and treasurer. She graduated from the best school ever. Of course, I'm just joking, but De La Salle University is what I'm referring to, with degrees in psychology and marketing. Perhaps the green background will give it away. And I had the privilege of meeting our guest 28 years ago when she attended some courses I taught in the same university. One of my more diligent, reliable, and inquisitive students. And I've really been so excited to see her in an allied field, really passionate with her craft. She completed her advanced certificate for executives at the MIT Sloan School of Management in Cambridge, Massachusetts, earned her advanced coach education through Coach Masters Academy, and gained a certificate in Applied Neuroscience and Brain Health Professional Development Program from the Neuroscience Academy in Australia. Her personal purpose is to help others reach uncharted waters by believing they can be and do more than they think possible. She is a cancer voyager, learning every day to find new purpose in her journey, and loves to share her story and life lessons through speaking engagements. And this episode is a continuation of her sharing her story, especially to those who may have been negatively impacted by this extended pandemic. Let's all welcome our guest for episode 22, Jackie Cañiza. Hello world, Jackie, and thank you for being here. It's great to be reconnected after, what did I say, 28 years?
28 years, yeah, that's a long time, but it's so good to be reconnected.
What course or courses were that?
Psychology. So we had courses in research and psychology together.
research or social psychology, or if not cognitive psychology. Those are the courses that I taught before. And to also, just jolt your memory, Jackie, I prepared this surprise photo.
Oh my
We're
goodness.
sharing this photo back in 93 or 1994.
Oh my gosh. Look at that. Wow. Oh my
Do you
goodness.
remember where this was taken?
This was in Laguna, was it? Yeah? Laguna ba?
In Batangas, San Jose, Batangas, in our
Ah,
immersion in social
yes.
science.
We stayed there for a whole weekend.
That's correct. That's correct.
Ah, oh my gosh. Do you remember you know what I remember from this weekend was I had a roommate who had she got the chicken pox that weekend.
Oh
That's
my.
what I remember.
I
So I
hope you did get
remember,
it back when you
no,
went
no,
back to Manila. Okay.
I didn't get it naman. Years later, I did, but during that time, that was one of the things I totally remember for some reason. For some reason. Oh my gosh! Look at this!
You
Wow!
said that I haven't changed, but obviously there's that well, it's a big difference now from how how slim I was before. But I
Good.
have very good memory of my students, especially those who stand out, and that
Really?
included you. Kaya pag
Wow!
nakikita ko tong photo na to, Jackie, I will always ask, where did these people go? And finally, that's why this is really
Now
a
you
great
know. Yeah.
reunion. Okay.
God,
Thank you.
it's
So we'll remove this photo. That's
thank you.
enough. I'm also
Yes.
I
Enough
also
of
get
the
conscious of
embarrassment.
seeing myself there. You do a lot of things, as I mentioned in the introduction, but
Yeah.
now you are known as a career transition coach for the longest time. Okay? And I'm
Yeah.
sure that you've helped a lot of people, especially those affected by a reduction of in force or organizational changes, move forward. Now, with the extended pandemic, I always say it's extended pandemic. No? How should
Mm.
experience being or performing your career transition coach responsibilities in the last 11 months, Jackie?
Well, it's been kind of like a roller coaster ride the last 11 months, no? Parang a lot of our clients have come from very different backgrounds. Personally, in our practice, we saw an increase in the need for coaching in the last 11 months. So we have a combination of services in the company. We do workshops and learning sessions as well as coaching, and the ratio of coaching as against our learning sessions has really increased significantly. Um, and I think that's really what the effect of this whole pandemic did for many people who have either had to rethink their careers because of the high stressful environments that they were in. Many companies had to let go of their employees. So we've worked with a lot of clients who lost their jobs due to restructuring. There was definitely a lot of challenges that this whole crisis brought. Thankfully, people are aware and they know that they have support available, and I think that's also the kind of the blessing part of what we've seen. There's much more awareness today than there was a few years ago when we started about coaching, that you can get help and it is available for you to get help. And that's why we saw the surge in the service as well. We saw a lot of shift to virtual, obviously, right? From the application process to interviews, everything was now being done online. So even the way that we had to support our clients changed.
Mm.
Obviously, our sessions had to be all online, um, but that also added a layer of challenge to what people were experiencing in the process of application, because it's much more difficult to evaluate fit and culture through virtual platforms. No? Yeah, so
And
those are some of the things we saw.
I was about to ask the challenge of virtual delivery of coaching. Was it from the point of view of the coachee, or you as coaches also uh,
Mhm.
was the word struggled, or had to adapt, or had to tweak your coaching techniques because of this new mode of delivery?
Well, personally, because I'm highly extroverted, as you might recall, I really prefer the face to face. That was my personal preference. So even pre-pandemic, given the choice, I would always meet my clients face to face. There was just a different connection that you'll have. That had to change. I had to shift
Mm-hmm.
my perspective about using online. Thankfully, the practice itself can be done online, and it
Mm-hmm.
really is not very different aside from the fact that you're not seeing each other face to face. So that was what helped me to make the transition much easier. For the clients, I think it actually helped that it was virtual, because now they can get coaching from their homes. They don't have to spend to go out, to commute to either BGC or Makati, whereas they used to have to do that. Um, so there were advantages also to the whole virtual environment. The difficulty, I think, is more around when they get to the process of evaluating what's the right fit in terms of company culture, and where they're going.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it sounded like a win-win-win, as you mentioned. Surge means increase in business, no? Which is good for founders of companies like you. It's also a win for the coaching profession, being the reputation, the value, the relevance of coaching being boosted significantly, and
Yeah.
also a win for those who needed it. No?
Yeah.
I heard a lot of people, Jackie, saying, "Oh, a lot of people are asking for coaching, so I should already also explore if I need one." Para bang
Yes.
nawala yung stigma, no? No, you would only
Right.
need a coach if there's a problem. Okay?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think
And
that.
now, go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead. Yeah. No.
And now it, yes, please, Jackie. Yes, yes, go.
No, I just answer that question. It's good that people are aware that there is coaching. And it used to be confined to very senior level executives in big companies. The thinking is that it's expensive. I can't afford it. But now I think there are much more accessible coaching services available, and that's part of our own mission as a firm, to make it much more accessible to people who would want to invest in themselves because they would like to help themselves in their own personal growth and development.
And given the surge, the demand for coaching, I know that you are a career transition coach. I'm not sure how many other types of coaches there are, but
Mm.
what were if you will bucket the common issues that are now being brought to coaches, what would the top three major groups of needs be?
Yeah, so if top questions that I would typically get from clients who are making career transitions, I think the first one is, how do they know if they should make a shift or not? I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the first. No? How do I know if I should move to another career, or if I should continue down the track that I'm on? And how do I know what the right path is? How do I make this discernment? Um, and that conversation usually will become very introspective,
Mm-hmm.
because I, as coaches, as you know, we ask questions rather than tell people what to do. And so the questions I would then ask my clients with regards to that is, first of all, is shifting the right response for you?
Mhm.
And when you're responding with this seemingly felt need to shift, what are you responding to? And there's a wide variety of responses I can get to that. Some clients will, want a shift simply because maybe they're having challenges with the boss,
Mhm.
or they're having, they're finding it difficult. But when you dive deep into what else they appreciate, they actually like what they do, they like the company, they like the people they work with, but there are certain elements of the work that perhaps are not ideal. and
Mhm.
so so the knee-jerk reaction is, maybe I should shift.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of discernment, I think, that is needed at the onset before you make even the decision that shifting is the right path for you, right? And is it aligned with where you see yourself 5, 10 years down the road? Is it aligned with the values, strengths, and interests? Does it capture all of that in this new field that you want to get into? Um, in your current state, aside from feeling the disappointment, are there emotions of excitement still in the work? Are there emotions of feeling anxious, and what's the source of that anxiousness? um, so lots of different questions that that brings out more.
But you started with those two big rocks. No? The first one is even a yes or no question is shifting the right response. And if you say
Yeah.
yes, should have a basis, no? I like the second one. Therefore, what are you responding to? Some sort of a validation whether you made the right yes or no answer
Right.
there. And
Yeah.
uh, what about for people who lost their jobs and maybe it's not easy to get the same job in
Yes.
the same similar industry? They might be thinking, I'm forced to shift careers.
Right, right. And we see that happening, especially now, right? Where airline, hotels, the travel industry was very hard hit. And if you were to look for a job, you can't find it in the same industry, right? So that was part of the reality of a lot of people as well. For those who are kind of compelled to look at other options, what we then will focus their attention on are, what are the skill sets that you have that you could consider to be transferable? And literally, I would ask my clients to make a laundry list. List down all of the skill sets that you think you have. And I ask them to move away from functional skills as much as possible, and really focus on um, uh, you know behavioral skills, or skills that you can use in various scenarios. So, for example, handling people is a transferable skill. Managing projects is a transferable skill. Analytical skills, decision making. So those types of skills, if you focus on not the context within which that you've been applying them, but really, what is the strength that I have so that I can apply it in this particular context, then you can create this level of confidence that maybe I can move to another industry or another field, because these skills are also useful in other scenarios. So that's what I would ask them to focus on.
Well,
Sorry, go ahead.
go ahead, go ahead. The other question.
Yeah, no, the other I guess uh, focus of attention that I would ask them to do is to to shift perhaps in phases if possible, right? So rather than say shifting to an entirely different role in an entirely different industry, maybe you would make a shift to same role, different industry, or
Mhm.
similar industry, different role, so that you're not shifting everything entirely, and there are still kind of uh, touch points from where you came from to where you want to go.
It's not a totally drastic shift. It will be easier to
Yeah,
adjust and maybe test the
yeah.
waters as well.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
I know a lot of people who have discovered hidden talents, hidden skills, no, because of this pandemic. An HR manager of a global company who found that she can also bake, and she put up her own brand and actually registered
Yeah.
the business. An owner of a travel agency, obviously, no travel. He has to close it down temporarily. What did he do with his staff, with his team? They
Mm,
found that the collective passion was cooking. So,
mm,
they put up a restaurant, no? And they offered the food items for delivery, Jackie. I know of those two stories, but would you be able to confirm if there are other successes that you know with your other clients, with people doing something that they don't actually know they have or they can do, but they realize it's a passion or it's a hidden skill or talent? No? Would you be
yeah.
able to confirm that?
Lots of different stories. Definitely, I can confirm that. There are I there are those that see this transition, in fact, as a blessing and an opportunity to go back to passions they've had when they were younger, or interests they've always wanted to get more into but really didn't have the time. uh, so it became an opportunity, and I think that's also one of the important things is, what is your mindset around this transition? Are you seeing it as an opportunity, and therefore, you know seeing what those opportunities might be, or are you seeing it as this horrible thing that you can't get yourself out of? Because that creates a huge difference in the success of having to transition. Lots of people have found out that they actually can do much more than they realized. And because of the pandemic, certain things became much more accessible as well. Online selling has always been around, but community online selling suddenly surged. In our own community here, where I live, there are a number of households that are selling what they're making from home, and communities are just banding together, wanting to support each other. I heard of a story of a young girl who lives around here. She decided she wanted to bake, and she earns 30,000 a week in sales from her baking. I mean, it's doable. It's doable if you find something that you're really really interested in, and you invest the time in it, right? I think that's also key. It's investing time and energy in whatever new endeavor you're deciding to get into.
I think the key word from what you're saying is opportunity, seeing the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Right? But to someone who is really undergoing this grief and struggle of just losing or about to lose a job,
Yeah.
how, in your experience, what are questions or what are statements that we can use to really make the person see the opportunity?
Hmm. I guess that's when you really focus on where they'd like to see themselves. the brain has a way of allowing us to imagine, and it's very creative, right? But also our brains tend to ruminate and kind of bring ourselves to chaos in the current moment. No, we kind of see the whole situation as very dire and difficult, and that makes it hard for us to focus. And so what I ask clients to do is to think about the bigger why, the bigger purpose. What is it that will make this difficult time? Because it is difficult, and you have to acknowledge that. You can't sugarcoat that in any way. But what will make it difficult? What makes it difficult is what's happening now, and what will make it less difficult is thinking about what gives me a sense of purpose. What am I doing all of this for? What do I look forward to when all of this is done, and I can finally, get to the end of where I want to go. Um, Again, going back to perspective, when there's a much stronger core of why and purpose, I find that those are the clients are much more flexible. They're much more creative. They can suddenly think about all these different new ideas, versus otherwise.
Just, of course, imagining people who have reached out to me recently, Jackie. You're
Mm.
correct, no? We focus on what's in front of us. We focus on the moment, and definitely that will be full of problems, no, full of chaos.
Yes.
Somebody reached out to me saying, "I'm losing my job in a few weeks' time.
Mm.
A condo, I would cite the condo has not been paid for X number of months, no, and I have the following bills. Can you help me?" And send the person's resume. Yeah, you're correct. We have to just transcend all of this, and look forward. And then you mentioned be open to opportunities, and we end up more flexible. And you say we end up more creative. And
Yeah.
you already gave some tips. I like that tip of slowly
Mhm.
adjusting or adapting, not making a drastic change, especially for those people who have been in a particular role or industry for the longest time. It's their comfort zone already. Any
Yeah.
other additional tips on how such a person who felt that sense of stability, never expecting
Mm.
COVID will happen, what other tips can you give so that they can successfully shift to something different and new?
Well, the good thing about the whole virtual world we live in now is that learning is so accessible. This whole platform that you also have, right? You can go online and literally learn anything. You can learn how to take care of a plant. You can learn how to negotiate a sale. You can learn how to repair your car. Anything and everything that you would want to know more about is accessible online. And so I think that's one of the resources that people should absolutely take advantage of. We almost don't have an excuse not to be learning constantly because of just the amount of opportunities that are out there. A lot of courses are being provided for free by big universities, making it accessible for anybody. So I definitely would encourage people to go online and retool and reskill yourself. Things that you might have been just you know interested in before. Go ahead and dive into finding out more about it, learning more about it. I heard of story who were getting sick certifications over the whole pandemic, and people were like left and right collecting these certificates. Um, and obviously, that's a great idea. I would also be mindful in making sure that these certificates have, again, contribution to that longer term purpose and why, right? And that vision that you have for yourself. So working backwards, if I want to get there, what do I need to learn today so that I can move closer to that?
You are reminding us that it's really that career and career transitions, it's actually a long-term decision. It's not here and now. It's not what's in front of us.
Yes.
Although for those losing their
Right,
jobs,
right.
the biggest struggle or concern is the billables, no, the bills to pay, food on the table, no, what's going to happen next month. But my takeaway from this is, um, it will pass. You will get by. You will find a way, right? And that week, that month will go by. But what's important is that you don't lose sight of the long term sense of your career or purpose. Right?
Yeah, yeah. I think that the the harsh reality of what we're going through today is that uh, not many companies are open to hiring, right? Many have decreased their workforce. That's part of the reality that we're in, and so resourcefulness is really a key strategy today, and to be practical, like you said, I've got to pay the bills. Is now the time to be thinking, I want this ideal, workplace and work scenario? Maybe not, but a baby step, to the right or to the left, may not go directly where you want to get to, but it's a step anyway. And sometimes that's the step that we need, and it's not always a straight line anyway. Careers are very much also like life, they kind of go to different trails and paths. And like you said, as long as you're keeping a very clear picture of where you're headed, those turns can be value adding anyway.
I like that careers are not straight lines.
No.
I once heard
Yes.
zigzagging your way,
Yes.
right?
They
And
can actually be even more valuable when you zigzag. I did that myself. I went from human resources. I went to business development. Without that shift, I don't think I would be where I am today. It absolutely was a great shift for me. I didn't know it at the time, but in hindsight, I see that now, and I think, wow, that's a good thing. I did that.
so getting all of those tips and imagining that I'm somebody who is part of these organizations and all of a sudden there's downsizing, and it could be just an interim thing, right? Just to be
Right.
able to use my talents, to keep myself busy, and of course at the same time, practical side, continue paying the bills. No? It's interim, but you don't know whether that will be, you'll eventually like it or eventually succeed at it, right?
Yeah. You might discover some gems that you didn't know were there before. Yeah.
You mentioned resourcefulness.
Mm.
Aside from resourcefulness, what two other things, maybe traits, qualities, or if I may use the word competencies,
Mm.
if to complete the three, resourcefulness is one, what would the two others be? To those who are struggling, don't know what to do with the careers, don't know how to move forward, resourcefulness is one. What would complete the trio, Jackie?
Resilience, I think, comes to mind here. It, being able to uh, look at your situation and say, okay, this is temporary. I will bounce back from this. And I think that's a trait that uh, Filipinos are very much great at. Diba? We've gone through lots of different crises and pick ourselves up so very easily. Um, and part of that resilience comes from this community, this having a support system that is available for you. So I would put those together as part of that formula, if you will. Um, the third, I guess, would be just that very much having self-awareness. It does begin with that awareness of where am I, what am I good at, what are my interests, and where can I apply myself
Mm-hmm.
in this time? What makes
Mm-hmm.
sense?
Mm-hmm. Resiliency, even if you don't have a solution, right?
Yeah.
And even if this day goes by, you still don't have a hope, and perhaps you felt that you're it's you and you against the world. Tomorrow is always a better day. That's resiliency. And you mentioned resourcefulness. Well, resourcefulness is seeing what you have
Yep.
and making the most, no, of what you have. No? Combined with the third one that you mentioned, and you said there is a support system. What
Mm.
what other resources are available for people who are exploring career transitions, Jackie? What can they tap? What can they resort to?
One of the first things I do tell my clients is tap your network. Uh, there's also something about asking for help that is so important also in this time. And uh, sometimes people will be very shy to ask for help. There's an element of, I guess, pride in there as well. But very often, that next opportunity will come from who has helped you to find this next step for you, and because they knew someone that knew someone, and they remembered that you were looking for work. And so that I always encourage my clients to just have a catch up with an old friend from 28 years ago.
You
Right?
never know.
You never know, you never know. And just to be able to create that network, and let them know that here's what I'm looking for, and here's, if you come across something, you're planting the seeds, right? You're planting the seeds. The other obviously is, the kind of work that I do. That's a resource that's available. There are a growing number of career coaches out there that can help. If reach out to one, Google them, and find someone who you can resonate with, and you feel comfortable working with. It is, again, it's a blessing now because there are more coaches available now than there used to be years ago. So that's definitely something I would encourage people to try.
Coaching, tap your network.
Yep.
Yes. Aside from self awareness, right? And
Right.
just the thinking of the so many tips that I can now pass on to a lot of people who are reaching out to me with who are in that state or dilemma. I'll ask you later as we close to plug your numbers or how people can reach out to you, Jackie. I'm sure that our listeners, some of them, might be thinking of engaging a career transition coach.
Mm.
Top two tips to people who are still looking for jobs since the start of the pandemic. You can see, especially in LinkedIn, people have that on their profile photos, open to work. I would see some successful in Q3 last year, and they
Mm.
would celebrate it with the rest of LinkedIn community. I know that some are still unsuccessful as of this time. And it's been what? It's almost anniversary of the lockdown. They still don't have a
Yeah.
job. What what tips or words of advice would you have for them?
Oh gosh. I will go back to uh, having the right perspective and mindset, right? And I think it is a difficult time, and it is challenging, and you can see it as an opportunity to tool up and learn. You can see it as an opportunity to shift to something new, something that you haven't tried before, maybe something you were even afraid to try before. And now you're in a situation where you can. And so, how are you seeing this time? Are you seeing this time as a chance for me to recreate and redesign my career, or are you seeing it as I just have to, sit around and wait for this to blow over? And I think that's where it all really starts. And then second, I guess is get support. I mean, there's no harm in getting support. In fact, you might find that there's so much more that you gain from it than not.
Actually, my key takeaway there is, do you even, you've been waiting for a job for 11, 12 months. Perhaps it's employment is not the thing for you now. You have to also, you can explore going to entrepreneurship as the others have
Absolutely,
done.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
Uh, you also mentioned learning. Maybe God, what God or the universe is telling you is maybe you've been working so hard in your past decades. It's your time to upskill, and maybe the next big break is coming up soon. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It might lead you
Matter of
to an
perspective.
entirely different path, and before you know it, you might be a, a trail that you didn't expect, and even gain more out of that trail.
So, Jackie, before I ask you to share contact details so people can reach out to you, what would be a tip to people who are exploring coaching? What could
Ah,
be one, two things that you can advise them so that they are ready to really make the most out of a coaching relationship?
if they're exploring to find a coach for themselves, you mean, or yeah?
Yes, yes.
Well, I definitely would encourage you to talk to a few coaches. There are a good number, as I mentioned, and so talk to two or three, and then find someone that you feel you have good rapport and chemistry with, because that's so important that you feel that you can resonate with the coach that you're working with. And that's okay. Coaches are totally open to initial chemistry meetings. It's part of what we expect from the profession and the industry, and it's perfectly fine if someone says, "No, I'm sorry. I decided to work with somebody else." Perfectly okay.
So fit is one. Of course, coaches also wouldn't want to coach somebody who might be unwilling and
Yeah,
resistant. Okay? So
yeah.
you heard that from Coach Jackie. And I will now start calling you Coach Jackie.
Oh no, just Jackie, please. It's fine.
So Jackie, how can they reach out to you? What's the best way to contact you where you can also immediately respond for those who are listening to us on and who may now decide, let me just try exploring getting support from a coach.
Sure. They can send me a direct email, and my email is jackie.cañiza@harayacoaching.com. Or they can visit our website, www.harayacoaching.com. You'll also see profiles of other coaches who are part of our pool in our website, other work that we do, and you'll get a flavor of what it's like to be coached.
And for our viewers in our YouTube channel, we'll make sure that that email address and the website will be indicated as I speak now. You'll see that in the video.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jackie, I know we have limited time to at least give insights or spark insights or share pieces of advice to our listeners or viewers who may be thinking of making career transitions. I know that you've added value to them, and I hope that others who are listening will start contacting Jackie and the Haraya coaching team.
Thank you so much. Thank you for allowing me
It's
the
been a
time.
pleasure.
Yeah, me too. This has been very, very welcome.
What
Uh,
a way to reconnect with you, Jackie.
connection.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's all together shout out. Hello, world. All together, Jackie. Hello,
Hello,
world.
world.
See you in episode 23.